The 25th Hour Radio Show. Welcome to the 25th Hour Radio Show. I am your host, Rob Fairless. Today on the show, I have country rap artist, Hick-Hop artist, Troy Coleman, known to the world as Cowboy Troy. What's up, Troy? Thanks for being on, buddy.
Oh, man, just good to talk to you, Rob. I appreciate it, man. Hanging out with the family today and just enjoying an afternoon.
Sure, man. You know, like always, Troy, I'm going to start off from the very beginning here and get my listeners a little background information about you, the origin of Cowboy Troy, so to speak. So if you would, take us back and let us in on what got you interested in music in the first place, you know, enough to where it made you want to pursue it as a career and more specifically as a country rap artist.
Well, I started kind of messing around, listening to a lot of different things, a lot of different styles, you know, when I was 13. And then as I got older, you know, I was listening to stuff like Charlie Daniels, Jerry Reed, Roger Miller, the Oak Ridge Boys, you know, Def Leppard, Van Halen, ZZ Top, when I was 13, 14 years old. And then the older I got, I started listening to Run DMC, LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys, you know, and all those different rap acts as well. And the older I got, you know, by the time I got into college, you know, it got to the point where I started, you know, DJing frat parties and all that kind of stuff, and eventually getting on stage, you know, and opening up for local acts that were around Austin, Texas, when I was a student at the University of Texas. And when I graduated from college, I moved back to Dallas and would jump around at various bars in town, you know, country bars where the bands were friends of mine. They'd let me jump up and, you know, perform with them and rap, you know, just kind of as a surprise to some of the people that were in the bars. And, you know, had a good time with it. And the older I got with that, you know, I just kept at it. And in 1993, I got to meet John Rich in a town called, in Dallas, at a bar called Bar and Money. And he and I became friends. And John Rich was still in Lone Star, but it was before Lone Star had even gotten their record deal. And then in 99, I went to Nashville and got to meet Big Kenny through John, and been friends with those guys all these years. And when they got signed to their, you know, first record deal, they invited me to be on their first album. And when that album took off, they had me out on tour with them and got to go out, and we were opening up for Tim McGraw and Brooks and Dunn and all the other big acts at the time.
Now, that kind of leads into the question I was going to ask you next. Would you consider that to be your big break, hooking up with John Rich?
Well, I would say, you know, being friends with John, you know, has always been fun and been great. And, you know, he's always been a really cool cat, and, you know, and so is Big Kenny. And it was interesting because John had introduced what I was doing to Big Kenny. And, you know, eventually when they got to that point where they got on a national level, they invited me along. You know, John brought it up and introduced it to Kenny, but Kenny, you know, had to still sign off on it too and be in agreement with it. So I would say it was both of them. You know, when they asked me to be on their first record, that was the big break that got me national notoriety.
Now, you've said this before. You consider yourself an oddball, right?
Yeah, I am.
Now, you were the one who kind of blazed the trail for other artists to step into the hip-hop genre of music. And since you were the original, did you get a lot of backlash from country music fans who thought maybe that there just wasn't any place for rap in country music?
Yeah, you know, first off, there were some people. There were a lot of people that were enjoying what I was doing at the time, and they still do today. And it was just kind of interesting because, you know, when we first got out, you know, in front of people on a national level, people were wondering, like, there's this huge question mark above everybody's head, like, what on earth is going on with country music? This guy is rapping, but it's live instruments with fiddles, banjo, dobro, steel guitar, all this other stuff going on. And, you know, a lot of people didn't really quite understand it. But then if they would sit and take a moment, you know, we'd explain it to people, you know, I'd sit there and say, look, take a minute and think back. You know, Charlie Daniels had Devil Went Down to Georgia. You know, Roger Miller had all these songs that had a sing-songy kind of rap delivery. Jerry Reed, same thing. If you listen, you know, the Oak Ridge Boys, if you listen to some of their earlier stuff, I mean, you know, Mel McDaniel, all these guys influenced, you know, some of what I do today in some fashion. And while they had those early leanings for rap sort of like lyrics, back then people were calling them recitations. because it was mostly spoken and things of that nature. So, I mean, when you think about those kinds of things, there was some basis for it, and it wasn't like it was just out of nowhere. But when Locomotive came out in 2005, that was the first album in country music that was a Hick-Hop record from top to bottom. And when I say that, I'm including, yes, there were other people who would maybe do a song or two here and there in early years, but nobody did a full-on record from top to bottom until 2005, as far as I'm aware. And if somebody else has done it, please correct me. I'd love to be accurate on that one if I could. But that was one of the things that kind of started the ball rolling for other country rappers to come out and make other records. And Colt Ford came out in 2007, 2008, whatever it was, and then you had guys like the Wax and Moonshine Bandits, and you got the Georgia Boys now. And there's Matt Bates and the Yellowhammers down in Alabama. You got all these other guys running around, and the Bama Boys. There's a whole lot of people running around doing country rap and hip hop music nowadays. It's pretty cool.
Everyone has their haters, man. Even more if you're in the public eye. But there's always a flip side of the coin, and that's the success you've had with what you've done. Other than maybe putting you into a different tax bracket, man, has the success changed you as a person, or do you still consider yourself Troy from the block?
I'm still the same guy, that people know from years back. Now that I have a family, I'm a little bit more guarded in who I'm, let into the inner circle, so to speak. I'm still friendly, but, I still am more concerned about, protecting my family and things of that nature. But also, when I really think about things, like I said, I'm still the same dude, but, I remember back when I was a shoe salesman at Foot Locker, and I remember when I sold Western wear at Cavender's Boot City when I was still living in Texas. And so, you think about those kinds of things, and that the business is a funny animal. You got to fight like everything to get into it, and then you got to fight like everything just to stay in the music business. So you got to really be careful, because at any point in time, it can all be taken away from you. So that's kind of the way I look at it, and just kind of treat it with the respect that it deserves, and try to keep a level head.
I ask you that question because in a lot of instances in rap music, it's all about, money, hoes, and clothes, right? And is it the
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Is it the same with hip hop, or is your style and what you rap about totally different?
Well, each artist raps about different things, So I mean, you may have some that might, talk about, those ancillary, types of things. I generally try and focus my music on having a party and having a good time and keeping things pretty light, hearted, and letting everybody enjoy themselves. And it's more of a matter of not being so focused on, tangible things, but really just enjoying, the fellowship and being around other folks and having fun and that kind of thing.
So let's talk about your new album, Saloons on Neptune. Congratulations on that,
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to say that first impressions mean a lot, and I absolutely love the cover art on this album. Do you have anything to do with that, or any say-so on what kind of art your albums have?
Yeah, this particular record, I kept it independent and released it on my Hick-Hop Federation imprint. And when I wanted to talk about the album concept and the artwork, I talked with Jerry Holthouse, who was the art director on this project. And, he and I got, together and, let him hear some of the music that was going to be on the record. And I said, I wanted to be, and I said, people have talked about how my music is kind of really out there and almost outer space, kind of crazy. People don't really understand it all the time. Let's see if we can focus on what it would be like if we had, some outer space planet, and it's a bar on that planet, like maybe a saloon on Neptune, so it's almost like if you took the cantina scene from the old Star Wars movie and kind of put it on 10 and kind of cranked it up a bit and made it a little bit extra crazy. And then there's me walking in the picture. The artwork that they've got there has got me walking in the saloon doors, because I said, it needs to be kind of like almost like an old West feel, but still kind of intergalactic and space feeling to it. And so now I'm wearing in the artwork, they've got me wearing this battle armor space armor suit and chrome colored cowboy hat and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I told him what I wanted, and he got together and with the illustrator, and it kind of made it work, and that's what we got now on the cover art.
Yeah, man, I dig it. You know, the album's only been out for a few weeks, but in this day and age, you can get instant feedback on anything. Are you happy with the reception you've gotten on this album so far?
Yeah, I'm real happy with it. You know, people are there are a lot of people that were pleasantly surprised because, you know, it's kind of hard to follow up each project, and people are kind of judging you based upon the progression you make as an artist. And everybody that's listened to the music has been very receptive to it, and they can't wait to hear more. And, you know, because I've got 6 songs already lined up, ready to record for the follow-up to Saloons on Neptune. So, I mean, it's really a lot of fun, and it's a party album, and everybody's having a good time with it, and I'm just enjoying it and just continuing to keep working. I mean, I got to keep at it. You know, as an artist, you know, you really have to keep new music out there and keep it fresh, because if you don't, people will kind of forget about you, and, you know, you really can't really afford to do that. And I look at it in the, you know, in the sense of, you know, I tour a lot with Big and Rich, and I'm always on the road with those guys because they're my buddies. But I'm kind of the sidekick in the group, so I kind of make sure that I'm always staying extra active and always out there doing a little bit extra just to kind of keep my name in the mix, so that people kind of know that I'm still doing other stuff too and still keeping fresh music out there.
You know, for the people who haven't bought this album yet, and maybe not even heard anything off of it yet, is there a certain song or songs that you would suggest they buy on iTunes to give them a taste of what this album is all about, just to start them off?
Yeah, you know, when people really think about what my music has always kind of been, the majority of my songs, whenever people have heard them, they have been mostly in the country dance clubs, because I don't get a whole lot of play on radio. And it's just because a lot of times country radio is a little averse to playing rap, even though it is country rap or Hick-Hop. They're kind of averse to playing it on air, unless it's like on the Friday night or the Saturday night party mix that these stations have. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do is really fun and upbeat and stuff like that. So there are songs kind of like Square Dance Boogie, which really kind of keeps people moving. You know, that's a fun song. Party Train is a song that I did with Nick Cannon and Mariel Jakota. That's a fun one. Take a Shot is a song that I did with Laura Bell Bundy. And Liquor with the Locals is another song. That's the lead song off the album. And the concept behind that is whenever we tour, wherever we've been, whether it's in the United States, you know, Canada or Australia, we always try and go out and have a couple of drinks at a local bar or pub. And, you know, so Liquor with the Locals is basically, you know, having liquor shots or beer or what have you. And it talks about some of the stories that have, you know, happened over the years. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. People like those songs.
Now, do you do social media and have a website where people can go and get more information about the new album and about yourself and even about some of your older stuff you've done?
Yeah, I'm always involved on Twitter. You can get a hold of me on Twitter at Cowboy Troy. You can hit me on Facebook at facebook.com/Cowboy Troy. I'm on Instagram. That handle is at Cowboy Troy Global. And then on Google Plus, it's I think it's Plus Cowboy Troy is the handle on that. So
you're all over the place on the social media thing.
Yeah, I'm everywhere, and because different fans like to interact with you in different formats. Some people like pictures, some people like long posts, some people like short posts and things like that. So I try and stay as busy as possible on all of them. And of course, I've got cowboytroy.com.
You know, we're about to wrap things up here, Troy, but I wanted to ask you one more question. A lot of people might not know this about you, but you're the father of triplets, man. How rewarding has it been for you to be blessed with something like that, something so rare?
It's really cool, you know. Triplet boys, they're 8 years old, and they're really neat fellas. They're smart, you know. They're very active, and they like to, you know, do a lot of things. Like today, you know, they wanted to go to the library, and so I took them to the public library to get some new stuff and to read, and then from there, you know, here we are back at home, and everybody's, you know, reading their books. And now that their books have kind of they're getting through that and they're playing video games. So it's fun. It's a really cool thing, and I'm super glad and blessed to be their dad.
Troy, that's absolutely awesome, man. Thanks again for taking time out to be a guest on my show. Good luck with the new album, and most importantly, I wish you and your family nothing but the best moving forward, man.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate your time, and thanks for calling, and good to talk to you.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.